Hello, today I want to tell you about not totally new earphones, but actually it's FiiO JD7 and they were released like, I don't know, a few months ago, somewhere last year, and at that time I didn't review them, but I noticed a rising popularity of this model and actually decided to fix that error. So I asked for a loaner unit at local retailer Porta.Fi, and they provide me this box with JD7 inside, and it's as usual, as when it comes to budget segment, it's cooperation between FiiO and their sister company Jade Audio. Not sure about that relations between companies, but that cooperation in the past gave us a lot of pretty good budget models, and JD7 is set to prove that once again, because basically it's FiiO's technology is used in more high-end models, but for the more affordable price. So it's a continuation of FD3, 5, 7, but in much more affordable segment. Here used 10mm dynamic driver with dual magnet system, and if you're interested, just visit FiiO's website. They have nice infographics describing everything like diaphragm material and so on. And it's put into the shells made of stainless steel with semi-open design, and all that things costed $100 at launch, but for now they are available with discounts, at least on AliExpress, for about $80, plus minus like few dollars. So that's probably everything I need to say. Let's have a closer look. Of course, for this affordable price, box is pretty simple, but still looks kind of nice. It definitely doesn't look like that throwaway matchbox like packagings. And with opening of this box, it became pretty obvious that FiiO did spend some time actually making that it will be impossible to open this box without some external tool, or actually without big damage to the box. So I will pause video now and will unbox it using knife carefully. So I'm back. I managed to open this box. It required some strategic thinking and using kitchen knife, but I opened this top flap and let's dig inside. So let's explore the contents. So some small manual, actually good sign that FiiO wanted to give you as much value as possible, because they came in signature HB1 box, which is really well built, and such things are rarely met in this price tier, almost never. So open here, and in this box probably we'll get some tips. Actually, we'll get this tool to remove MMCX connectors and a few different set of tips, so 3 pair of different tips. I won't unpack them right now because it will take some time and will make this video even longer and even more boring than it is now. But also FiiO includes 2 accessory sets, their newly released HS18 ear tips, which I reviewed with some more expensive models in the past. Really great plastic box, good for everyday care and also good for everything. Stock cable is pretty basic, but in general looks okay. And here are earpieces themselves. So looks really stunning. As you can see, build quality is superb. They are made of stainless steel, mirror polished. Of course they will gather fingerprints a little bit, but actually they are pretty easy to wipe. They have a semi-open design because you can see that it's a vent hole, but inside there is another grill that prevents too much sound leaking in both sides. But it helps efficiently release the inner pressure, so it protects your eardrum and gives you a bit better sound stage. But of course sound isolation is slightly below average, but still it's pretty enough for daily commute or some usages like that. Really great finish quality, everything built really nicely. And you can see pretty long spout going into your ear, giving a really comfortable fit into the ear, and small profiles, so to my ears they fit perfectly, and I'd probably assumed that they won't cause a lot of problems with fit, but it could be just my assumption here, so no warranty about that. And here is stock cable, used MMCX connectors, which is also not common thing in the affordable segment. They have pretty strong click, so that gives a good hope for the reliability. There are ear hooks formed, really comfortable soft ear hooks. I like this particular implementation. And here is the cable, and you know, it looks like regular cables we've seen with other models, but the insulation feels a bit different, so it's something more customly made. Cable is soft, not like the super soft, but definitely close to softer ones. That means low microphonic effect, and that's a good thing. So combination of softness and ear hooks allows to avoid that. And here is the splitter with chin slider, and under the splitter it goes to the regular 3.5mm connector. Of course there is no modular connector here, but we still getting great value for this price, starting with design and rich set of accessories, so I'm not sure it's the thing to complain here. And of course you can do some cable rolling here with ease, but actually it's not the case when you have to do that, because the cable is awful in quality or really uncomfortable. That's definitely not the mandatory thing, but more a way of squeezing some extra from these earphones. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 40 hours of burn-in, and there were noticeable changes in sound during first 10 hours or so. But actually I can say that if you buy this model, don't spend time burning them in as a separate process, just start enjoying them. They sound really good out of the box and just became a bit better when you will be listening to them. And you know, in terms of sound, subjectively for this price, for me it's a total steal, because they offers really great sound fitting my subjective tastes. FiiO targeted them to Harman. I'm not saying that Harman is like perfect tuning, but and there are a lot of debates over that. Some like it, others don't like. But you know, I think that in the affordable segment, having Harman as a target, it's a pretty good idea. And FiiO made a step forward, and they added more weight here, and that brings, you know, great enjoyable signature. Of course it's not like something audiophilic, but it's a really great earphones for those who just want to listen to the music with enjoyment, and it's definitely hitting many tastes in the affordable segment. So let's talk about everything step by step. Bass is elevated it's really good. For this priced tire it's great, but in general it's really good in terms of clarity and resolution and overall balance. It's a 10mm dynamic driver, it's not like even 13 or 14 or something like that, but it delivers a really good punch, and it's tight, it's impactful, but at the same time it has weight when it's necessary. It has really impressive depth, so even with some electronic music that is focused on the deep bass, they will deliver a really good amount of that deeper rumbling bass. I really want to include in examples something like Prodigy, Diesel Power or Minefield, but then decided to go with a bit different tracks. So it's really good with nice sense of sub bass present, and actually with a pretty decent control of that sub bass, and with nice meaty mid and upper bass, but at the same time it's not trying to exaggerate it too much, because when no bass is present in the track, it stays on its place and plays pretty calmly. But when we got something with mighty bass, it will deliver all this power. It's really good in terms of texturing, nice in terms of small nuances, so basically it fits like both for electronic music or some pop music, so for bass quantity dominating genre, and for $80 it gives a good value for bass quality genre. Of course, it's not to be compared with like models for $150 and up, but in this segment it's really one of the best types of the bass that I've heard, because I'm a fan of such tuning, and I really like the overall coherence of single dynamic driver, because bass transition really smoothly to the mid frequencies. But let's have a bunch of examples, and first one is Juno Reactor Tempest. And I like this track because it starts with pretty bass light compared to typical Juno Reactor, but then intro is like that sense of coming Tempest with a lot of appears pretty deep bass that goes from left ear to right and vice versa, and this model gives a really great sense of all that things, and thanks to the clean and good mids, it builds nice contrast too. So I thought about getting the Antwoord or something like that, but I decided that Juno Reactor will be a better example, because it's not only about dominating bass, but also dealing smartly with bass. Sorry, and second track is Mojry by Niechęć. I thought about using relaxed dub, which sounds super great with these earphones, but then I decided to go for the track that is not as focused on the bass line. Mojry, it's actually more like typical and more jazzy track, but it also has some low going notes and bass, and they not constant, but they appear sometime, and this model definitely delivers it good. And also thanks to the clean mids, it gives you a great sense of the rest of instruments. Mids are dynamic, but at the same time really good with weight. So, you know, like it sounds like this model tries to compensate issues with record. Of course, it's not so, because for that we need some dynamic signal processor, some neural networks. Actually, it's our future. I think, like in maybe this year or like in about a year, we'll getting more and more neural network enhancement in sound. And actually, you know, it's a good idea, because for now even the basic things like spatial audio is also giving a pretty decent results. And mid frequencies here, you know, like they have good weight distribution, but even when it's lacking a little bit, it's like compensated, but not doing that too much. Also, it's not focused on the errors in the record or some problems. They have a good resolution, a pretty nice amount of details, but they are not focused on the micro contrast, so they don't sound too clinical or too analytical. But at the same time, they have slightly bumped upper mids, and that means that distorted guitars will sound like with a bit of extra spice. Female vocals really airy and really emotional, like some instruments like violin and many others, giving a bit of additional boost. And thanks to the additional weight on some tracks, also male vocals sound really great. So it's trying to make vocals more impressive, and it succeeds. And another strong part here is definitely a stage, because like they are semi-open, and that means that they built a wider stage and actually even deeper. Of course, it's not like something from the top of the line models, but it's definitely one of the biggest, maybe even the biggest stage in the budget segment I've heard. And you know, with some tracks it's really impressive, and it's really unexpected for this tire, but sometimes we have a bit different expectations. So it's not a model for those who want like super analytical sound. It's more for those who want like fun but detailed sound, so like balance in between those things, and that's why actually I like well-balanced dynamic drivers. And it's like a sampler of FD5 and FD7 and other things. But let's go back to the examples. So first one is Terminal Frost by Pink Floyd, and it's saturated with different three-dimensional effects that plays great with this earphones stage. Also, it has a lot of sense of airness in the record, and treble here helps with that. And also they represent really well all the instruments and stuff. So of course it's lacking a bit of focus on the micro contrast, it's lacking a bit of more technical performance to fully represent this track, but like we're speaking about $80, you know, not 800. And another track, you know, I never used it as a test track, but it's really great here as an example. It's Rammstein's Links 2, 3, 4, or Links 2, 3, 4, and it's super groovy, super engaging with these earphones. First of all, they deliver rhythm section and with great sense of groove, with great sense of energy, and on top of that we're getting really emotional vocal of Lindemann, and that combination, like, you know, making you wanna march. And if I didn't know the story behind this track, I'd think that it's some kind of march from 1939 or so. But of course this track is completely opposite to those ideas. But you know, it's also a great example of confusing audience with form and content of the track. Really like this. I don't know, it's a joke or like some kind of pun, or maybe it's just a way to express Rammstein ideas that they don't support far-right movements. Definitely more about the opposite. So, and percussions also sounds great, guitar part so enjoyable, but at the same time super energetic and like making you wanna shake your head or something like that. As for the treble, you know, it's surprising. I've read a few reviews, I usually try to avoid that, but in this case I decided to go and learn the internet. Actually, my curiosity for this model starts with some reviews I've read in the internet. And, sorry, in some reviews people said that it's polite in terms of treble and not forward. Others said that like it's, you know, it's a bit sharp, but if you're not super treble sensitive, like you can go with them. Like totally opposite opinions. And actually it's all about your love to the high frequency area. They have good extension, above average, but definitely not at the maximum level. They are well developed, so typical for the energetic dynamic driver, a bit slower attacks and decays, but overall good saturation with overtones. And what I like here, it's almost absent some sharp peaks or something like that. So from the one hand, if you used to peak at 8 kilohertz, for example, that makes everything like more sharp in the treble area and more energetic. They can sound a bit lacking in terms of treble. But at the same time, they have a good amount of treble, like not really energetic, not really, actually energetic, but not like boosted sense of treble. It's, to my taste, it's perfect amount to compensate low frequencies here, but actually I'm a fan of slightly more forward treble. But at the same time, good detalization, good overtone saturation, and definitely no attempts to make like comfortable or like smooth treble. So for other people who are super sensitive for the high frequencies, they still can be on the harsh side of things. But if you like feel like in between of those two polar opposites, most probably they will fit your tastes really nicely. Of course, it's lacking layering, it's lacking that high overtones, but once again, for this price tier, it's like really well balanced treble with good sense of realism for percussions and not only for them. And let's go to the first example. It's Onuka 1986, and it's a great Ukrainian ethno-electronic project. I recommend it many times, and I can't stop recommending it because it's an example of work of two people who are deeply in love with music and with Ukraine. It's vocalist Natalia Zhishchenko and great music and sound producer and musician Evgen Filatov. They put in this project a lot of ethno motifs, lot of folk motifs, but at the same time it's a really well recorded samples. Evgen Filatov is well known that he prefers like real samples. He recorded them themselves, and even he even have a YouTube show where he traveled in few cities of Ukraine, gathered different samples on the streets, in the nature, in some museums, and also in subways, in tram parks, and many others places, and he converted to the music of that particular place. It's really exciting. Sorry, I was a bit carrying away when I speaking about the Ukrainian music and projects. And 1986, as you can assume, it's all about Chernobyl tragedy. So here you've got really impressive vocal by Natalia, and of course they are beat processed, but at the same time she's a really strong vocalist with high hitting notes, and thanks to the normal treble performance here you'll get that really good with sense of airness and with a lot of that tiny small nuances and details. And at the same time this track is really touching with some real voice records from that night of that tragedy and good vocals. So nice track. And these earphones represented not by 100% but in a really good and enjoyable way. And final example, I want to put something familiar to everyone, something really epic and great, and it's the introduction overture for the Notre Dame de Paris, and perfect vocal, good development of this track, like one of the greatest musical tracks in the history of mankind, with great vocal emotions. And these earphones definitely represented really well, thanks to that good weight for the male vocal, thanks to that beat boosted upper mids, and especially thanks to the great staging, you'll get that sense of immersion and you're getting a lot of airness and presence. Speaking about the sources, actually they are not critical, but still I won't recommend listening them with regular smartphone or some cheap adapter. They deserve something like about $50 digital to analog converter at least. You can get FiiO's KA1 for example, or some other company, but at the same time they scale pretty well with more expensive sources. For example, even with like $500 M11s, they had that extra possibility to scale with the level, so really good earphones that you can get and then get some better source and they will grow with it. They are not power hungry, they are not super sensitive, so vast majority of sources will be good with them. Main question is like what sound signature you prefer, more natural or some more colored, but it's of course a matter of taste. Speaking about the comparisons, honestly there are tons of models in the similar range. I reviewed a lot of them, but I did like just few comparisons and that's it. So compared to Moondrop Aria 2, is it Moondrop? Actually I don't remember, everyone calls them Aria. Here you'll get more mighty bass, a bit less focus on the micro contrast mids, and a bit more, a bit less forward treble with more even frequency response. Compared to FiiO's FH1S and FD1, they are less monitoring, they are more fun with bigger bass, while both FD1 and FH1S are focused on the micro contrast and sound on the more analytical side. And compared to FiiO FD3, actually they have a bit less forward treble and because of that a bit less airness. So FD3 boosts treble a bit more and gives you more sense of air and more spacious representation, but difference is not big. But at the same time price is also not that different if I remember right now. So really good model in this segment with really great price, offering really nice value. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.